Well, if you didn't know how important trenches were in college football, now you do. Now you do.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, please rate, review, subscribe, comment below how you are feeling. Well, of course, about this game. How are you feeling about being 3-3 at the bye? Because never in my life have I been more excited for a bye week for Michigan State football. Obviously, just like you, especially for you live show listeners right now that are listening to this at 12:30 in the morning after that 31-10 loss against Oregon. Look, we obviously love Michigan State football, probably to a sickening degree, but I think we can all agree here that a bye week is probably healthiest for every single person involved, whether it's the players, whether it's, hey, you know what, let's talk about us, the fans. We could use a little break right now. But yeah, of course, we're going to talk about this game here. Any questions, comments, concerns, reach out to us, lockedonspartans@gmail.com, like many of you did. We'll try to get to a few of those questions later on. But yeah, let's just get into the show about this game. Yeah. Hey, we covered. There we go, Jonathan Kim. Good teams win, great teams cover. No, okay, we'll talk about this game seriously here. What a quintessential Michigan State game, by the way. It had it all so far this year. Had your red zone turnover just immediately in the game, so you could just check off that box on the bingo card immediately. There's the circus play on the other side, a play against Michigan State that you would only see against Michigan State in that first half, with a guy catching a ball as he's laying on his back as if he's tanning under the sun. A little concerning there was no one within 20 yards of him, but nevertheless, you only see that play happen against Michigan State, it seems like. Also, for the quintessential Michigan State game, you had zero run game on offense, but hey, on a positive note, Chuck Brantley had his moment, like in a positive way. My goodness gracious, what a story for Chuck Brantley so far this season. Unfortunately, didn't amount to a win. Didn't amount anywhere close to a win, actually. And you know what? I'm going to check us all right now. I'm doing this, a little bit for me and also for you guys out there too. Let's remember what the last 2 weeks have been, okay? Last week, you played maybe the team with the best skill position unit, certainly in the Big Ten, if not the entire nation. All right, with those two running backs, Jeremiah Smith is the receiver. All right, they're secondary too on defense. My goodness gracious, over in Columbus. Yeah, they're okay. Today, all right, yeah, still good skill position players. Of course, you got, Tez, the wide receiver over there that I'm convinced he's going to run a 3.9 40-yard dash at the combine coming up. But what they're known for is their trenches at Oregon. And I thought, they'd be decent trenches going into this game. My goodness gracious, I didn't know they would look that much more improved than Ohio State last week. So just to really break check us, get some context of where we're at right now, those are two teams that will be making the college football playoff coming up, all right? Michigan State was 24-point underdogs for a reason. Those are incredible teams. And, oh yeah, for a nice little bonus too, you did it on 6 days rest, flying across the country after playing Ohio State. No favors done there by the scheduling. I'm not going to complain about it, but look, in the Big Ten, especially in this new day and age Big Ten where you have 18 teams, sometimes you're going to get lucky with some breaks. Sometimes you're not. This was unfortunately one of those not get lucky with breaks facing, well, the two best teams in the league 6 days apart. So, yeah, of course, Michigan State got throttled last week. They got beat pretty handily this week. I get it. We're upset. We're not happy with the loss, but just some context there. This is a rebuilding year, and you just played two teams that are behemoth. But let's just complain about this game really quick here. Again, I'm not going to do the whole wave of the pom-poms. Woohoo, cover the spread, Hey, it could have been a lot worse. We're not going to do that the whole show, please. My God. Look, guys, if you didn't know how important trenches were in the game of football, any level, Pee-wee, high school, college, NFL, you name it, well, this was a great lesson learned tonight for everyone involved. And we just have to look at the first half. All right, like let's just look specifically with the run game. And let's go to the victors right now. The winning team, Oregon, in the first half. Oh, wow. 192 yards at half, 8.3 yards per carry. Okay, Oregon again is very good. That running back they have over there, okay, not too shabby over there. Jordan James knows how to get some yards, can break some tackles. I thought we had an angry running back in K'Ron Lynch-Adams, a guy that really gets some contact after yards, a guy that runs with conviction. Jordan James brings that to a whole nother level, and it also helps when you have an outstanding offensive line. And, well, let's talk about us. Not everything's just about Oregon here on this show, because this is Locked on Spartans, and we look inward here. And we have uncomfortable conversations, and I don't think it's necessarily unfair to look. Before we talk about a fan favorite linebacker, guy that's been here seemingly since 2008. Let's just hammer this home right now. Everyone missed tackles. Okay, this is actually one of the concerns that we brought up in the pregame show. If you didn't listen, I'll bring it up to you right now. Michigan State came into this game with 48 missed tackles on the season on defense. Only Minnesota and Maryland in the Big Ten have more than you in the conference. All right, last week you had 15 missed tackles. Yikes, that's a lot, okay? So you're wondering, okay, what do you need to do to cause an upset? Well, you need to play a clean game, whether it's turnovers, penalties, or just tackling in the game of football. I heard that's a pretty good thing to do. It's pretty cool. Thrilled to see the missed tackle numbers after this one because a lot of people had them, but let's just get into the player that I heard a lot about on Twitter, and, well, I also saw myself. Look, he's going to go down in the history books. Right, he's been here long enough. Cal Haladay has had an extraordinary career here at Michigan State numbers-wise. He had that great interception in the Peach Bowl against Pittsburgh. Who can forget it? But this is where it gets really uncomfortable here because I got a feeling that in Eugene, Oregon, in any facility or locker room or practice field, they had a picture of the face of number 27 everywhere plastered with in bright, bold letters underneath, "We are running at this guy," right below it. And that was pretty much the game plan, seemingly. He got washed out in a lot of running plays, a lot of pass plays. He was just left behind. And look, it is what it is at this point. What else do you do? Do you start someone else? I thought it was interesting that Jordan Hall really did not get a lot of run tonight at all. He wasn't on the participation or the availability report, I should say, as far as looming injuries go. So I do wonder what that's all about. But tonight is a good lesson as to, let's talk about recruiting. We haven't talked about recruiting in a while. Kind of why we're seeing guys like Charles White out of Orchard Lake St. Mary's get recruited. All right, guys, Charles White, is he a 5-star? Is he a 4-star? No, he's not. He's very not highly rated right now. He's a 3-star. Do I think he's better than what his rating is? Yes, but that's just one Homer Spartan fan. What I'm trying to bring up is the fact that Charles White is also a track and field star at Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Yeah, he can run. Joe Rossi wants some speed in the linebacker position. Nights like tonight kind of tell you why you kind of need that in your linebacker room in the Big Ten because, man, if you're going to get beat on a route, fine. Who's going to knock you for getting beat against, the guys that Oregon has? It's just always staying out of frame right after those. But it was just a tough night for our guy, number 27. We heard a lot about him. But, look, let's just turn this into a lesson. That's why he wants some speed in the linebacker room. So on the flip side of the trenches here, the run game for Michigan State's offense, anemic would be putting it incredibly lightly. In the first half, you had 8 carries amongst your 2 running backs, Nathan Carter, K'Ron Lynch-Adams, of course. 8 carries for a grand total. It wasn't 192 yards like Oregon had. No, it was 18 yards. So, yickety yikes on that one. Okay, sorry. So, guys, a few weeks ago when we played Boston College, there was an issue. Both in the eye test as you're watching the game and later on in the box score. All right, our guys get hit behind the line of scrimmage a lot. Nathan Carter, his first 5 carries, 4 of them, he was hit behind the line of scrimmage. So this was tonight. Back against Boston College. Pro Football Focus had you at 4.3 yards per carry. Yards after contact, 4.7 yards per carry. Now, if we've had a few too many pops tonight, those numbers don't make sense right now. That's a long way of saying that you're taking so many hits behind your own line of scrimmage that they jumped over your actual yards after the line of scrimmage stat. I mean, like, I think that we're going to see those similar stats when those numbers come out on Pro Football Focus of, wow, you were getting dinged up behind the line of scrimmage a lot. So, yes, that hurts the game. Okay, and of course, you really can't set up play action if they don't respect the run. Also, too, you know what? Right after that Charles Brantley interception, great interception, by the way. All right, Michigan State, 3rd and 3, deep in Michigan State's own territory. It's 3rd and 3. Hey, you know what? Would be a really good time for a team to run the ball or at least be respected for the run. Oregon only had 6 guys in the box there. Like, they didn't even respect the run. And how could you with how Michigan State is at the run offense right now? Not even mentioning how solid it turns out Oregon is at run defense. So yeah, guys, that was a good lesson in the trenches. Now, you may have noticed that I've not brought up Aidan Chiles yet. We will do that after this segment here. But first, I need to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. God, it pains me that I will not be able to place some wagers on my lines this week, and they got a bye week just like Michigan State. My God, finally has coming up. But you already know it, guys. I will be neck deep in the wagers, first down, touchdown scores, same game parlays, whatever you name it for this NFL Sunday. I will be there no matter what, because FanDuel's hooking it up all season long, whether it's college, whether it's NFL, whether it's MLB playoffs. That is right, folks. They are your number one destination for your wagering in America. Hey, NFL fans, you can start this season with a big return on FanDuel, America's number one sports book. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com, America's number one sportsbook, guys. Again, FanDuel.com. All right, back into the mix here. Let's talk about your quarterback here because let's just get this out of the way. Not a great turnover right off the bat. I know I've been an ardent Aiden Chiles supporter here, and I still will be. I'll just spoil it. I'm still going to support him after this. You cannot excuse that fumble right off the top. Last week, okay, fine. Very easy to do, if not incredibly justifiable. The guy gets his head turned into a 360, and then when it snaps back to the normal human position, defender in his face, okay, he gets popped, it's fumbled. Fumbling 1 yard away from the end zone, I'm not going to spend too much more time on it. What can you say other than, yeah, it's terrible. He's had 40 turnovers, it seems like, this season. It's bad. How can you keep making excuses for him? Well, watch me. Well, let's do this. All right, because, look, I think it's both possible, fair, and also for a bonus, correct, to say that turnovers are an issue with Aidan Chiles, right? I'm not blind to it. I'm not, in his PR team or his media team. I am a State fan. I want to see Michigan State succeed, but I think all three of those are fair. It's possible. It's fair. And it's just correct to say that turnovers are an issue while still believing in him long-term. And yes, right now, thinking he is the best option. I don't know how loud or how big this crowd is of people that want Aidan Chiles benched or that want him benched after the first turnover or that want Tommy Schuster to get a spin in the first half. Because, look, is it a vocal minority? Is it actually the majority? I truly can't tell because it seems like we get a lot of comments about Tommy Schuster, so it seems like the majority, but it also seems insane that it is the majority because I ask you all a question. What is plan B? Bench Aidan Chiles? Get, just have a short leash on him and still try to win football games? What is your plan B then? Rely on the run game? Guys, we just talked about the run game. And yes, I get it. You know what? Tonight, fine. Chalk it up to Oregon being a great run defense. We're getting popped behind the line of scrimmage against Prairie View A&M. We're looking anemic against Florida Atlantic. I just rattled you off the yards after contact versus yards per carry stat against Boston College. This run game is not good enough to just switch to another quarterback because, you know what? You put the backup quarterback in, Tommy Schuster. Great career at North Dakota. Record-setting career at North Dakota. Really strong FCS quarterback. You know what really doesn't translate from FCS to FBS? Really good FCS quarterbacks. And I'm sorry, it is uncomfortable to talk about it this way because there's no way to talk about it without sounding like I'm throwing dirt on Tommy Schuster or saying that, oh, he's a bum. He doesn't deserve a chance. No, guys, you know what? Let's take it from 2015. You remember that great game that Michigan State played against Oregon? Vernon Adams, dubbed as the greatest FCS transfer of all time that went to Oregon, yet led them to a 9-4 season, which is underwhelming for what that Oregon team was back then. Even this year, Tommy Schuster transfers as the number 2 FCS rated quarterback, according to 24/7 Sports. Number 1 guy, Max Brosmer, transfers to Minnesota. Ask 2 and 3 Minnesota how they're liking their FCS quarterback, okay? It is not an easy plug in and play. And let's say that you just want to plug him in to be a game manager. Again, in order to be a game manager in football, any level, you need a run game. Don't have that here in East Lansing, not right now. Okay, so you know what? Let's just dink and dunk with our receivers. They're athletic enough, to just get a few yards after the carry, except one problem, guys. They're not. This receiver core, with all due respect, not necessarily it. Okay, we talked with Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On Ducks. He asked me point blank, "How's your receiver core?" I said, "Fine." You can't have a fine receiver core with no run game and still expect the offense to produce anything close that resembles winning football. You need a playmaker out there. Yes, Aidan Chiles is incredibly flawed. All right, he has turnovers. He's got the fumbles in him. It's not good. You know what else he has in him? NFL plays. NFL plays. And you know what else we've seen? We've seen him tighten up his mental mistakes in the passing game the last 2 weeks. If you could find a mental mistake that he's made in the passing game against Oregon, against Ohio State, please send that clip to me. I am begging you. All right? He had those at the beginning of the year. No question. He had those 3 weeks ago against Boston College. He has tightened those up. When we are here saying, oh, it's growing pains, he's learning, we're not blowing smoke out of our you-know-what. It is happening. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. But let's also use an anecdote from this game right now. Very similar to the Will Howard interception last week. Just an incredibly boneheaded decision by Will Howard. Obviously didn't matter, but yeah, he could have thrown that pass 100 times, and a Spartan was coming down with that ball 100 times. Now let's talk about Dillon Gabriel's interceptions tonight. All right, this is a 54-time starter in college football. Aiden Chiles 6 starts, Dillon Gabriel 54. That is 9 times the amount of starts that Aidan Chiles has, and he is still making horrendous decisions with the football as a 6th-year starter. Guys, 16th-year seniors like Dillon Gabriel, they make mistakes too with the football. Okay, it happens. It's an inevitability. It happens every once in a while. Well, Chiles, I think it's safe to say, has now made that part every once in a while, even very early in his career. Again, today against Oregon, how many times did he scramble, trying to find a receiver downfield, and instead just scampers for a few yards or just takes the sack instead of slinging the ball into double coverage when he didn't have to? Oh, the number 0. It didn't happen tonight, okay? Guys, that's a horrible decision by Dillon Gabriel, all right? We have seen horrible decisions like that from Aidan Chiles. It's always going to be a part of college football. So, yes, let's not be so hard on the young guy. Again, we preached all season, hey, you know what? Young guy, growing pains. It's not going to be perfect. Well, this is it right now. It is getting incrementally better, though. All right, just like I said. And, oh, by the way, as we go back to you need a playmaker on this team, too. Did anyone watch that lawn out route on 3rd and long in the first half? Or, you know what? I actually don't know if anyone watched this. How about that scramble to extend the play and then a perfect dime to Jerron Glover, 40-some yards downfield. That Glover just unfortunately dropped right in his hands. I mean, obviously didn't impact the game, but, that's a great play by Chiles. Or, you know what? 2nd and 16, backed up against your own end zone, scrambles for 14 yards. All right, your plan B is not doing that. A 35-yard seed to Montorie Foster downfield in the fourth quarter. If you didn't see that because you turned the game off, first, I don't blame you. Second, watch that and realize what you're seeing. Like, it is the best quarterback we've had here in East Lansing in quite some time. And that's maybe what drives me craziest about you got to bench him, you got to play the next guy, is like, did no one watch football the last few years here? Do you know how hard it is to find a quarterback as athletically and physically gifted as he is while also learning? I get it, guys. You can and should be disappointed with the fumble thing. I get it. Like that's one thing. But he's not thrown into triple coverage for no reason the last two games. He's not making dumb decisions. So can we please just all recognize that before we keep yammering for Schuster to enter the game? Because like that, again, like find backup quarterback. He's not your winning option, though. You don't have the run game for you to just plug in some okay quarterback, just, move the sticks, because you can't move the sticks with the quarterback like that. He had a fine drive late in the game against Oregon's backups. That was a really nice pass to Jack Velling down the sideline right there. A little back shoulder action for him. But that sack, I'm not saying that Aidan Chiles gets out of it completely, but maybe mitigates the damage. I don't know. I feel like this is a battle we're going to have for a while. And we did get a question of, what more we're going to have to see about that, which we will get to here in a little bit. But first, need to talk your ears off about the greatest ticketing app out there. It's the Gametime app. Guys, in a few days, I will be at Detroit Tigers' first playoff game in a decade, thanks to Gametime. Now, why thanks to Gametime? Well, guys, because they just make the process so easy. This isn't one of the sites where, okay, boop, bot, dip, but 17 clicks later, not only did you just waste 5 minutes getting tickets after all the clicks, but now you're surprised with fees at the very end of your transaction. No, Gametime gives you the price up front. It is 2 taps to buy your tickets, and they are sent straight to your phone. Tickets for this Tigers game, guys, they're outrageous, right? But Gametime is here to save you money wherever they can, or even this homecoming game for Michigan State too, guys. Not cheap. All right, that is going to be a sold-out Spartan Stadium crowd. Get over to Gametime. They're flash deals. Even 2 weeks ahead of the game, just like this homecoming game, they will have great deals in great sections for places you want to sit. Or let's say, you know what? In 2 Saturdays, you wake up, you're in East Lansing, and you're thinking, you know what, fine, I'll go see the game, but you don't have tickets. Walk up to the stadium. Even without tickets, you'll find great last-minute deals. Well, how about right off the bat, too? Because when you go to Gametime, download the app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. That's right, $20 right back in your wallet. That's like 2 stadium beers, guys, or like 6 popcorn buckets. That is a great deal. Head on over to Gametime, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Again, guys, LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. What time is it? It is game time. All right, now that I got the whole Aiden Chiles thing, off my chest, and I'm sure that everyone agrees with me now. That's a debate topic that everyone's on the same page with right now, is the whole Chiles thing. I just please tell me you guys watch other college football games and see what's going on out there. The turnovers, the fumbles, not great, but show me another guy that's making that pass on third down, opposite hash to the other sideline, 15 yards downfield, right in the mailbox. It's great. It is a learning and growing process. When we kept saying it's going to be a growing process, when Jonathan Smith said be patient, when you yourselves out there said yeah, it's a rebuild, yeah, we're gonna live and die by Chiles this year, it's all growing. We didn't lie. You didn't lie to yourself for that. This is part of the growing process, and I just want to point out again, there has been growth. All right, I know it doesn't seem like that as he fumbles the ball on the 1 yard line. Hopefully that's the next step in the many steps he's taken us so far for growth. Really quick, not just to be negative Nilly the entire episode here, but let's give some shine to Malik Spencer, a guy that we were, a little hard on to start the show last week, because our whole, thesis of last week's show to kick it off was really sucks when mistakes are made, but really, really sucks when veteran players are making those mistakes. Like Malik Spencer, late hit out of bounds, dropped interception. Well, wow, did he start this game like a firecracker. Sack on Dylan Gabriel absolutely leveled him. Interception which was a fantastic play. When we're talking about Dillon Gabriel making an odd decision, it wasn't even so much that first interception. That was just a really good play by Malik Spencer, leaving his guy, reading Dillon Gabriel's eyes to pick that ball off in a very athletic fashion. And then not too long after that, great tackle and punt coverage. So we got to give dap to Malik Spencer because, look, if we're going to be hard on the guy, we're also going to recognize the really good things he did even in a loss. And then, it's just a real bummer that, Charles Brantley's third interception of the season, which, my goodness gracious, what a story for Chuck Brantley, because part of it's football. The guy's been outstanding. He's one of the best corners in the Big Ten right now. It's just the human aspect of it, too. Like, he was just kind of left behind in this cornerback room after his great moment as a freshman against Michigan, that game-sealing interception, of course. And it's not just me and other media heads that were talking like, oh, well, Chuck's buried in the depth chart. They're kind of recruiting over him. No, the coaching staff got these guys out of the portal because they weren't necessarily convinced with Chuck Brantley back in the spring. And all he's done, we've seen it, is just become an incredible corner. So we just got to give Chuck Brantley some credit right now, too. And there's also one other positive on the defense here. And I'm going to need everyone to level set with me right now and remember that we are talking about football. It is a physical game, a violent game. Hitting is part of it. I'm not a monster. And they also today on the Fox broadcast had the quote from the defensive coordinator of Oregon saying that we are looking to mentally and physically wear down, or it was crazy language. We are looking to physically demoralize the quarterback or something like that. So when I bring this up again, guys, it's football. Let's talk about this, because I don't think it's not nothing that Michigan State, of the 6 games they've had, have really laid the wood to 4 quarterbacks so far. Now, the first one, Cam Fancher, Florida Atlantic. The first hit Malik Spencer got, that was a flag, that was targeting. To call it a dirty hit, whatever you want, sure, fine, whatever. They were also pretty physical on him the rest of that game. Loose chin strap and all. You saw his helmet roll off 8 times. That's a physical team that Michigan State is right now. Thomas Castellanos, you didn't see the injury during the game. It came out later that week that he was hurt. He missed the following game, but clearly got hit enough to miss the next game and be, that worn down. Will Howard last week. All right, Jordan Turner laid the wood on him. He had to miss a play. Similar to Anthony Jones this week, Dillon Gabriel. Look, it's a small anecdote I just want to point out, but Michigan State, they hit. And they hit the quarterback. And anytime you get a quarterback at least a little nervous back there, that's just good strategy right there. Of course, this game, it didn't matter. Dillon Gabriel came back that very drive, had a scramble. But look, if we're just going to try to point out some positives here at the end of the show, MSU's got some thumpers there on defense, and the quarterbacks know about it. And really quick for mailbag questions, I'm just going to answer my own mailbag question right now, because there was the debate online of like, hey, you know what? This Friday night game sucks. I hate it's on Friday. And very few others are like, no, I actually like it. I got to say, for this week, and this week only, I actually love that this game was on Friday night. For the very reason with what we just saw, I thought this was going to be a pretty decided victory for Oregon. Michigan State not really in it. So I got to say, I did not mind this game being on a Friday just because we can get it all over with and move on with the rest of our lives this weekend. So that's where I stand on that debate. Let's get to some real mailbag questions, though, right now. This one is from Joshua Matt. Question for the show: what should we expect to see out of Aiden Chiles the rest of this year and next year if we can't get the O-line right? I know they take the longest to develop, but I mean, is there really any transfer O-lines that play great? Either just a thought. We'll answer that question backwards. With transfer offensive linemen, it really is slim picking in the transfer portal. Of course, you can get a handful of offensive linemen, but by and large, offensive linemen is the group that enters the transfer portal the least. So just to go out and say, hey, get a few transfer linemen, not really that easy. And I could point to a direct example too, like Spencer Brown leaves Michigan State. Oklahoma, like a blue blood Oklahoma, goes out and nabs him as like a top priority. As nicely as I can put it, maybe this isn't going to be nice. I would rather myself play right tackle than Spencer Brown. Okay, the fact that Oklahoma thought that he was a crown jewel in the transfer portal cycle, right there, hard stop. that lets you know the kind of talent at offensive line enters the transfer portal. It is not great out there. Of course, you can find some solid players. Michigan State did. Tanner Miller, obviously. Luke Newman, of course. But in the grand scheme of things, not just easy to go out and get transfer linemen. Now, with that said, I also think it helps, too, as much as it sucks losing your right guard and then your right guard again. And then, your left tackle last week, too. Stanton Ramble did come back this week. That was a nice little bonus. You're getting a lot of experience from these guys, right? Like Raheem Johnson, Andrew Dennis, Stanton Ramble, of course. And so when you do lose Tanner Miller and Luke Newman, at least, the guys starting, they're not going to be shocked at their first sign of football. But, what could we expect out of Aidan Chiles if the rest of the tenure for him is like that protection-wise? Well, it's not going to be good, but I also do want to say this. Up until this point, even last week, the protection has been fine for Aidan Chiles. I'm not saying it's like top 15 in the country. I'm not saying he has all day to throw, but I think today was a little bit more of how good Oregon is in the trenches than it is about Michigan State. Certainly some of it's about Michigan State because they lack depth and also talent too. But Oregon is just a really, really good team. So I'm just going to throw that all out there. So as we move on to the next question, Spencer writes in, for the love of God, please explain to me why Cal Haladay would ever be on the field in a 3rd and long or other obvious passing scenarios. I don't think he has made a single play all year in that situation. In fact, I believe it's the zone most often thrown to in those scenarios. Please help me understand the math. Spencer, I can't. I know you guys come to me for a lot of analysis and answers. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for that one. Look, Cal Haladay, I think he gets so dogged on to the point that, maybe he's actually underrated in hindsight, but, he's fine at stopping the run. If not, some games, really good at stopping the run, filling those gaps, right? Not against offensive linemen that are as talented as this, as we all saw the last 4 hours, but 3rd and long passing situations, and we're seeing him in the field, perplexing, confounding, Again, I love Joe Rossi, and we've talked all up and down about that the last 6 weeks, even in the offseason. This is no referendum against Joe Rossi, but it's just more of a question as to why. Why? Surely someone on the sideline could be better. Like Aaron Alexander, who had a great shed block tackle Jordan James moment in the second half. I give him a run at least once, but whatever. I'm not going to sit here and question everything. I will just solely question what Spencer's questioning. Why on 3rd and long is the last guy you want on 3rd and long on the field? Whatever. Nicholas writes in, I have been on the Aiden Chiles bandwagon for almost a year. When is it enough? When he goes back to, let's say, against Iowa, he has 2 interceptions. Both were against double coverage, and he's just making dumb mental mistakes. And you could have this battle with yourself. Maybe we'll even have it this week. It's a bye week. We need content, right? What's worse, mental mistakes or physical mistakes? Because I got to say the mental mistakes have been getting cleared up by Aidan Chiles. And we're not even talking interceptions, too. Just from the Florida Atlantic game, checking pressure at the line of scrimmage pre-snap. All right, seeing what the defense is and audibling out of a play. That has gone a far way from week 1. So he has taken steps, guys. I know the turnover was annoying. It was a backbreaker to start the day today. Not necessarily the difference between a win or a loss, but the difference between us smiling to start the game and us throwing our remote clean through the television. So, yeah, that's no, but it's just got to be relapsing to just horrible mental mistakes that he's had earlier in the season. That's it. I think he really shored those up the last 2 weeks against some really, really good defenses. If you're sick of me talking enough about Chiles, I'm sorry. I call it how I see it. Yeah, both because I actually do see growth. I hope you guys do too. And also, how on earth can you look at the last few years of Michigan State football, namely last year, and say this isn't just trending better than where we were? I know this wasn't fun. 31-10, and it wasn't even that close. No fun. Getting beat by 30 whatever points by Ohio State, not fun. But let's also remember, we'll end this show the way we started it. Those are 2 incredible teams. 2 college football playoff teams. 2 teams that spent like Saudi oil barons in the offseason, in the NIL, and you could see it. You could see it almost every play. Whether it's the trenches for Oregon, the skill players for Ohio State with a little bit of trenches for them too. Yeah. Yeah, after the Boston College game, when I said this Boston College loss is going to really hurt because of the two teams you have next, that's why. Never for a second did I think Michigan State would win either of these last games. That doesn't make them any more annoying that you lost in this fashion, but still, hopefully we can just be grounded. Enjoy this upcoming bye week. I think everyone needs this bye week here. I don't know who needs it more, us fans or the players, but let's just get right physically for the team, mentally and physically for the fans too. So, guys, I love you all. I can't believe it is after 105, and right now it says we got 156 people watching. You guys are some sick puppies out there, just like myself. I love you guys. You guys are truly the best. All right, guys, keep it tuned. Locked on Spartans. Just because it's a bye week doesn't mean that we're going to, peel back some shows. It will still be every day coming up next week right here. Locked on Spartans, your team in green and white. I genuinely love every single one of you. Go enjoy the rest of your night, whatever is left of it, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. All right, guys, go green.